Hey there, friends and foes. Good evening, multiverse. This is not Saturday morning. This is Wednesday night. And this is the debut of an experiment called Weeknight Bites. Now, I've done Monday Night Bites, Tuesday Night Bites, Wednesday Night Bites. But because we're not sure what nights of the week we're going to do this right now, it's just called Weeknight Bites. And this show is designed to cover all of the other stuff that we quite literally never have time for on Saturday morning. So we're going to get into Mandalorian. We're going to get into some new toys and collectibles. We're going to show off some new loot. We're going to talk about movies. It's going to be crazy, loose, no set agenda. And we're going to do that right after this from the Murdering Crows.
It's like Coca-Cola, Levi Strauss, Johnny Carson and Mickey Mouse. The first star was James Dean, Elvis Presley, and he's still the king. Some things are only imitatable. You can't beat an original. Oh, you can't beat an original.
All right, friends and foes, that theme song was brought to you by our friends, the Murdering Crows. Get their record, Four Bad Crows, available from Amazon, iTunes, Google, or anywhere you buy music. I almost said Amazon, iTunes, or Google. And we want to thank our Cereal Box super friends, Eli Cash, Cindy Kep, Charisse Collins, Dave Manginelli, Dave Mattingly, Greg and Crystal Jones. They help keep this show going. And you too can be a super friend cereal boxer at buymeacoffee.com/cerealboxpod. We will have the banner running down below so that you will be reminded throughout the show. And we are also brought to you by the Tales of the Decoverse series, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or a bookstore near you. That is my book series. I've never read it myself, but people say it's great. Now, this is a little bit different show tonight. Back of the Cereal Box is a pop culture podcast that celebrates the fun of the Saturdays of our youth, the Saturday mornings of our youth, while surviving adulthood today. And when I was a kid, Saturday mornings meant big bowls of cereal, sitting down to watch cartoons, kung fu movies, Godzilla movies, getting on the bikes, riding down to the comic book shop or to the, to the collectible shop, getting comics and figures, and just living our best life as kids. And this show is dedicated to reliving that. And every Saturday morning, we do a live stream with me and Dee Barty and Willow Schuyler and Sarah Jenkins and other guests from time to time. But 1 hour is just not enough to cover the entire experience of our youth. And so, a friend of mine, he was a guest on one of our Saturday morning episodes, had mentioned, I'd really like to join a podcast. And I was like, well, you know what? Let's try something. So it is my pleasure to welcome back to the Back of the Cereal Box virtual rec room. He is the creator and host of J&J Toy Giants on YouTube. They do a great series of toy hunting, unboxings, and reviews. Please welcome Javier J.D. Diaz.
Hey.
Did I get that right? It's J&J Toy Giants?
Yep, so JD or Javier, and then Jade and my son, so J&J Toy Giants.
Awesome. And it is an awesome channel. You really, really do need to check it out. It's a lot of fun. And I hope we're going to have some fun tonight. Now, for those of you who are in the audience, we we uh we want to encourage you to post comments in the chat, like our good friend Sean Connors, who says, "What's up, Johnny? What's up, Sean? We're trying out a new weeknight show. So welcome to the virtual rec room for Weeknight Bites with Johnny and JD." And so JD, I don't have a set agenda. We're going to talk about kind of just what's going on in the world of pop culture, and you know, show off some toys, talk about some shows or movies that we're really excited about, um, and you know, just kind of play it loose and let our audience help guide the discussion. One of the
Hey,
things,
I'm all for it.
yeah, one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention. Have you heard about this? The
I
Young
saw an
Jedi
advertisement
Adventures?
for it, but I haven't. Is it already out?
Not yet. It's coming in
Okay.
June, or actually, I guess at the end of May. Um, it's coming directly to Disney Plus, and obviously, just by looking at this, this is a an animated series that is for young children. I mean, you've got a Jedi teddy bear, for crying out loud. Um, and Yoda is training the next generation of young Jedi. Now, I don't know who the redheaded girl is in the back, but she does not have a lightsaber. She has a droid on her shoulder. So I don't know who she is yet. But the reason I bring this up, JD, is because Disney Plus is creating a series to appeal to very young children, very much like The Rocketeer. Have you seen the new Rocketeer series on Disney Plus?
I have not, but it's funny you mentioned, I have a Diamond Select Rocketeer action figure in my collection.
Yeah, yeah. I'm obsessed with the Rocketeer, so I've got a whole Rocketeer shelf downstairs in my sanctum sanctorum. But the new Rocketeer series on Disney Plus, it's about the not the next generation, but the next generation of the Rocketeer, and it's a girl, a Hispanic girl who becomes the Rocketeer, and you know, she's maybe 10 years old, and very much for kids. Pays homage to the original movie in a beautiful way. It really
So no
ties in.
relation to Cliff, then I take it.
No, no, she's his granddaughter or great granddaughter,
Okay.
and but really, really great, and the way they honor the legacy of the Rocketeer is phenomenal. So I see this Jedi Young Avengers, or Young Jedi Adventures, not Young Avengers. That's a completely different thing. Um, and I got excited because it's kind of the same idea, right? Uh,
Yeah.
Promoting the legacy of the Jedi for a younger audience. And of course, this morning on social media, I see a bunch of grown ass white men complaining about a show for children. And I'm just like, can can we not just let people enjoy what they I'm all for anything that introduces kids to something that made me who I am. Star Wars movies, in particular, the first Star Wars movie, I was in the theater in 1977. And when Darth Vader stepped through that door, I was like, I want to do that. And it literally, JD, set me on the path to what I'm doing today. If Star Wars had never been made, there would be no back of the cereal box. It's oxygen to me. Star Wars is really super important. And um, you know, when the prequel trilogy came out, a lot of fans, older fans who thought that Star Wars should grow up with them, were really upset that, you know, Jar Jar was so prominent, and you know, it seemed to appeal to kids on such, you know, and that's what he was designed to do. He was
Yeah. Exactly.
he and he turned my kids into Star Wars fans. My daughter loves Jar Jar Binks, and she always says he's so funny. I just he makes me laugh, and
I
I'm like,
mean, he's gotten a bad rap over the years, but I'm glad that the character or the actor that played Jar Jar back in '97 got a kind of a redemption, so to speak, in that last episode before today's episode. So I'm glad that he's no longer a laughing stock.
yeah, well, so to my point, anything that makes kids a fan of Star Wars is aces in my book. So I love this idea. Is it for me? No. Will I watch it? Yes. To be familiar with it. Will I get anything, you know, significant or earth shattering out of it? Probably not. But for crying out loud, guys, let kids be kids and let people love what they love.
No, I
That
agree. I mean, the formula, I don't know if you remember, but the formula of taking an intellectual property and then making a cartoon or show of a younger version of them. Did anybody remember Flintstone Kids, A Pup Named Scooby Doo,
yeah.
Looney Tune or Tiny Toons? Like that formula has within the last 30 to 40 years already been done. People forget about that. And this is just another way for them to kind of appeal to the younger generation because I remember, I mean, as far as like Star Wars, I guess for me it was the Droid series because I remember watching the original trilogy by VHS because I was born in '81, so obviously I was too young for the first two, and so I with those the VHS and obviously the rental going to VHS stores and renting a movie, I got into the world of Star Wars. And then because of the cartoons, obviously the Droid series was just R2 and C3PO. I was able to kind of get in a little bit more into the lore, and of course that Christmas series that they did with Boba Fett. And so that formula's been done. So I don't know why people are having such an issue with this. It's like it's
Well,
been done before.
we're
Chances are they remember those other cartoons that I mentioned.
well, and were you a fan of the Ewoks cartoon?
Oh yeah, Ewoks. Completely forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually. I think that was their main way to kind of get to the late '80s kids. Before then, of course, the prequels in '97. I was actually in high school when Episode One came out, and then obviously like senior in high school, I just graduated. So I think Episode Two came out in 2001.
Let's see. Episode 1 was 99. So yeah, 2001. That
Yeah, so
sounds
I
that
was just
tracks.
out of high school and I meant to say 99. I don't know why I said 97, but and then of course in 2005 I was well into my 20s when episode 3 came out. So I don't know why a lot of people try to kind of poo-poo on that type of a formula because it's been done. Like chances
Well,
are the people who are complaining about it have already seen it.
and exactly. The people who are complaining about it are the people who probably loved those cartoons, watched them, like I did, or loved the Ewok Adventures movies.
Mhm.
Caravan of Courage and the Ewok Adventure. Um, I don't know if you've ever seen those. You're younger than I am, but those came out after Return of the Jedi to capitalize on the popularity of the Ewoks, and they were considered canon because they were released theatrically in Europe.
Mm.
In the US, they were released on TV on CBS, but in Europe, they were theatrical releases. So if you go by the definition of canon that it has to be, a film released in the theater, then it is anyway.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing to get into. But those movies, by the way, Caravan and Courage and the Ewok Adventure, are on Disney Plus as well. And the people who are complaining about a kid show, when they were kids, they loved those shows.
Mhm.
And it drives me insane how divisive and how toxic fandom has gotten. And I heard this great theory, JD, that one of the reasons why older fans today are so disappointed with the prequels, with the sequels, with any of the current stuff is because it doesn't meet their expectations. But the reason it doesn't meet their expectations is all centered around the fact that when I was a kid, we had the 3 movies, but we had the action figures. And if you were like me, you were creating your own stories with those action figures. We were writing our own movies in our head and, you know, building up this kind of expectation that that's what should have happened. And nothing on film can ever like match up or live up to what we created in our own mind with our action figures. I thought that was
Yeah.
a great theory.
Well, that too, and also I'll give you another example too. With my history, with my son Jaden, I tried to get him into a lot of stuff that I grew up with, and that has been like I would say 70% of the time didn't work. He wasn't interested. 30% of the time he was, depending on what it was. Specifically with Scooby Doo, okay? Because he was. I'm sure you've seen they Warner Brothers just pumps out Scooby Doo movies by you got at least 3 a year. I pretty much thought it was like that. I'm like, why are you watching this? I was like, what? Wait, let me. And I go onto YouTube or I buy the DVD that said this is the Scooby Doo that you should watch, and I would show him the ones I used to watch in the '80s, and he really wasn't. He wasn't into it. But then I showed him a pup named Scooby Doo. He was like, oh, that's my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, he was like he didn't like the '70s hash or '80s version of Scooby Doo, but then he'll watch like the newer Scooby Doo stuff, even the live action movies, and the ones that I particularly didn't care for. But he also liked the pup named Scooby Doo. I was like, you know what? Hey, have at it. Pup named Scooby Doo. We can watch it together. I'm good. You know. Star Wars, he didn't take to. Batman, he was like okay with it, and so it's
Really?
unfortunately your kids are not gonna always like what you like, and that's something that I have to learn as a parent. You know, it was my dad had it easy because I loved exactly all the stuff he would watch, like Land of the Lost. He did that episode last Saturday. I watched it. I watched a lot of stuff uh, when he was a kid, as all those old cartoons and stuff like that. So he got lucky with me, but it's not like that all the time. And unfortunately, with parenting, you got to give them a little let them watch this because then what's going to happen is it's going to bring up questions like what happened after this season stops. Oh, okay, son or daughter, this is what happens. You want to watch this movie? It'll tell you exactly what you need to know, and that's how you can kind of reel them in. Put
Yeah.
the little pebbles and let them come to you.
Well, yeah, and so far the only properties that my kids have really gotten into that I'm a big fan of are Star Wars, and my son and I really enjoy Godzilla movies together. But last week we went and saw, and I'm going to finish this thought before I tell the story. But the other thing that I think that we have a problem with fan expectations is that you know because we were making those movies in our minds with those action figures during the dark times, and
Mhm.
nothing can live up to that. We have this percent, or or fandom in general has this perceived sense of ownership over the characters and the stories, and we don't own them. We
Yeah,
have
exactly.
no ownership. And so anyway, but hey, my buddy Rafael de Furia from Portugal is watching, and Star Wars Triple Heart. He and I are Star Wars fanatics. And Raphael, so I don't know that I saw that you answered my question. I think that was really, spoiler alert, I think that really was Zeb. Was it? Is it confirmed in the credits? I haven't had a chance to go back and look. But if that is actually Zeb and not another part of his race, that excites me so much. That makes me so happy. I was a big fan of Star Wars Rebels. Um, it might be my favorite, one of my favorite Star Wars properties. But yeah, Zeb. Spoiler alert: if it's not Zeb, I mean, it sounds like his voice, sounds like the same voice actor. Okay, so Raphael says it's definitely Zeb. Haven't checked the credits. I don't care about those in this case. Not enough of his race to be another character. Well, and it is definitely the same voice actor. So I'm pretty sure it is the same character, but Raphael is going to go check. He's going to go check it, and he will report back to us. But
It's
love
funny
Star
you
Wars.
mentioned Godzilla. Just a real quick tidbit. My dad, because I lived in the city, I lived in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
My dad used to take me like from the Bronx to Chinatown, and we would go and to this little hole in the wall store, and he would let me or show me all these old like Hong Kong cinema. That's how I learned about Jackie Chan,
Uh
Bruce
huh.
Lee, Donnie Yen, and all of those old martial arts flicks. My aunt used to call them the clickety clack, just like they never hit each other. Uh, but I also got that's how I learned about Godzilla, and then of course they used to always have the late night marathons of Godzilla as well. So that's how I knew Godzilla to be, the old Japanese movies.
Well, so when I was a kid, Saturday afternoons, we had Godzilla movies playing, and sometimes it was Universal monster movies, and probably he even played Gamera. But I don't. There's a story there, but it was a show called Superhost,
Mm.
and Marty Sullivan from Channel 43 WUAB in Cleveland, Ohio. And you can hear, I can hear his voice today. He's like, yeah, we're gonna watch a Stooges short, and then we got Godzilla versus Rodan, and then he would show the Godzilla movies, and
He was like the Billy Bob of monster movies, eh? Or
yeah,
the
yeah,
kaiju.
and it was Saturday afternoon, so yeah, I was I still am obsessed with Godzilla movies, and you probably saw Saturday. I got the Criterion collection of the Showa era of Godzilla movies, and my son and I went to see Godzilla SO Tokyo SOS. It was a Fathom Events presentation, and let me tell you what, 20-year anniversary of Tokyo SOS. It was made in 2003. Um, and that theater was packed.
Wow.
Packed. There was not it was sold out. And you know, it spoke to me about one, the power of the legacy of Godzilla movies, but two, that if you put something in a theater that people love and people want to see, they're going to buy tickets for it. And that's a movie, by the way, that has not been released on streaming anywhere. So the
Oh
only
wow.
way that you can see it, if you don't own a physical copy of it, and it's hard to find, the only way you can see it is to go see it in the theater right now. And it was packed. And that was something that my son and I could do together, and had a ton of fun doing it. And so yeah, Star Wars movies and Godzilla movies are my son and I's thing to do together.
Yeah, Fathom also did a lot of the Dragon Ball Z, those newer movies, Dragon Ball Super.
Hmm.
Uh, they do a lot of Fathom events where they would watch the movies there.
Well, I have a confession to make. I believe that the greatest movie ever made was Casablanca. But I had never watched it until Fathom Events did the 70-year anniversary in theaters. I went and saw it and totally, totally fell in love with it. It
I
was,
think it's AFI's number one movie of their AFI 100. I think it was listed as number one.
yeah, it vacillates between Casablanca and Citizen Kane. And for my money, Casablanca is the superior movie. It is, in my opinion. And I walked out of that theater. This has been what, 11 years ago now. And I walked out of that theater going, one, why have I never seen this? Two, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen.
I said that about 12 Angry Men. One day I was in high school and the teacher didn't have anything planned. And he's like, when you see the TV in the room when you walk in, and you're like, yeah, we're not doing any work today. We're gonna be watching a movie. And he put on 12 Angry Men, and I'm like, it was the black and white one. And I'm
Is
like,
that with
oh, wow.
Henry Fonda?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is so cool because Jury Duty was a Pauly Shore movie. Basically, ripped that off. I don't know if anybody knows, but just saying. But I grew a love. I watched it, and it got me thrilled about that whole thing about like, do you really have the ability to send a man just because you have a certain uh, idea of your mind of someone who you think they are? Do you have the right to condemn them? And that was like from then on, I got the physical copy and I watch it once in a while. But 12 Angry Men is a great movie.
Yeah, I actually was in the play. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so yeah, I read the play and then I was in it, and yeah, great story, great story. So we were talking about creating Star Wars stories with our action figures, and I think you've got some show and tell items from this week.
Yeah, I did. I kind of went a little bit crazy. So that I had like a spawn or from like right before Christmas up until like end of February, where I just wasn't buying any figures,
Yep.
'cause so I got some stuff that I got, and it's funny you mentioned about the making your own stories with your figures. I used to do that with my wrestling figures. I had my own little fig fed, is what they call
Oh
it.
yeah.
Uh, and I used to get all of my GI Joes, my wrestling Hasbro figures, and would make my own little like federation and stuff like that. So I got they came out with this new line, the Ruthless Aggression. There we go. A
Okay.
little bit.
Oh yeah.
I got Shawn
Shawn
Michaels in
Michaels.
from
Yeah.
the Ruthless Aggression line from 2006. It was around the time when he was wrestling for the title at WrestleMania 23. And so I'm not getting the whole line. I'm not doing it. I'm not a big completist. So and then of course I got Kevin Nash.
Ooh, see,
Sorry
this
about
is one
the
that I
glare there.
want. This is the now this is the elite line, not the ultimates line.
Yeah, so this is the elite line, but they just started doing this ruthless aggression era is what like so this is series two, I believe, with the Kevin Nash, and then series one was the Shawn Michaels. So I got those two. I'm gonna be unboxing those soon.
Because
Um,
I really want. I'm like you. I'm not a completist, but I do get figures of things that I love, and
yeah,
I really want a really solid Hollywood Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall NWO, and the ultimate Hollywood Hogan that came out I think last year.
yeah,
I really want it, but it's really hard for me to justify $40 plus to get it.
yeah.
It's an
I
expensive
follow
figure.
this guy by the name of Kyle Peterson. He's a really big, famous YouTuber, and he always says you got to play the long game. So, like, if you see those like on clearance a lot,
Yeah.
then that's when you scoop them up. Target does that a lot, where they just if the figure hasn't been out for more than like a couple months, and they already put it on clearance because they got to make room for the new stuff that's coming in. Next thing that I got was the It's kind of like the first of the windowless packaging that Hasbro is doing now with their figures.
I
This
hate
is
it.
kind of like a basic figure of Trini, the Power Rangers. This is not like part of the Lightning collection. It's more of like a what I consider a basic figure. So like Lightning collection is an elite, and this is a basic figure.
Well, it looks very much like the original Bandai figure
Yeah,
designs.
yeah. So I got this. It was not that bad. I mean, it was. I think I got it for like $15, and so I got that. I'm just slowly but surely getting all of my Rangers together. But I'm more so of a Tommy guy, and I was really, really upset that Hasbro is discontinuing all of Tommy's figures.
Well,
Was I was like, why would you do that?
I'm
Like,
sure it has something to do with licensing his likeness and his estate. There's got to be something going on there that is, a legal, a legal
yeah,
landmine that they're
because they
having to
showed
navigate.
test photos of an actual like prototype of the Black Dino Thunder Ranger when he's
Hmm.
when he's the Black Dino Thunder Ranger, and I'm like, oh, I want that so bad. So if you go on Hasbro, like I think they discontinue it. So now all of his stuff that's out there is going to be all secondary market, and it's going to be a real crapshoot if you get anything good. I also got
Yay, the
the
Flash.
Flash from the Superpower line. I wasn't a big Superpower guy. That was before my time. I was more
Uh-huh.
Toy Biz. Um, but when I saw these, I actually didn't even know these were coming out. I had no advertisements. Nobody was talking about it. And then I saw these at the store, and I'm like, I'll get them. They look pretty cool. Because they
Well,
look like the Kenner superpowers.
they're a little bit bigger. The
Hmm.
Kenner was 3 3/4. And these I think are 4 inches, so they're a little
Yes.
bit bigger than the original line, but they really maintained the look and the feel of the original line. And I was a big fan of the original line. I mean, that was my era. Challenge of the Super Friends, and then it became
Yeah.
the Super Powers, and that toy line along with the Star Wars toys, is maybe one of the best toy lines ever, ever made. And I wish I had kept what I did have, but I didn't. So,
Yeah. When I moved to San Diego, when I left the Bronx, my dad was going to be remarried, and she lived in San Diego. We live in the Bronx. It wasn't even that much of a decision. We're moving, so I had to like just. I literally left all of my toys in the apartment. So whoever moved in after that got a really really good collection because I had a lot of stuff. The other one that I got was Deathstroke,
love
and
it.
I have Wonder Woman too, but I don't know what I did with it.
So
So I have the whole series too.
I have Batman, Green Lantern, Flash, Batman Who Laughs, Dark Side, um, and another one. I do not have any of the new wave. I don't have
Yes, I have series one and series two. The only things I haven't gotten are the vehicles, which I will eventually.
I do not have Superman yet.
Oh, really?
I did see him this week again on shelves at Walmart, so I will probably get him. But speaking of that, you mentioned that they just kind of appeared on shelves, and that is correct. Um, I saw an announcement that Todd McFarlane was reviving the Superpowers toy line. I saw that announcement, and then a week later, they're in stores.
Yeah, there were like nobody was talking about it because normally I kind of keep my ear to the ground, and if stuff is news coming out, they'll show a test photo on Twitter or something, and so at least I know it's coming out.
And
But nothing.
here's what I can't figure out though, JD, and maybe they are, and they're just being restocked so fast that I can't tell. They are at the right price point. They're
Yeah,
$9.97, cheaper than any of the other figures of that quality. I mean, when you're looking at Marvel Legends that are almost $30 now, Black Series $30, and then the vintage lines are $20. Now the Marvel Legends Retro, that's at $10.
yeah.
Those are priced right. But when everything else is so much higher, I can't figure out why these superpower figures aren't flying off the shelves, because the Marvel Legends retro figures are.
Yeah, they are.
They hit shelves and they're gone in a couple of days. But
Yeah.
I'm seeing these superpowers stick around and I can't figure out why. Are
I
they
think it's
really?
more of a sort of like they over purchased, like they thought they were going to sell a certain amount. And I followed the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, and they pretty much kind of school me on how toys the from because they have their own toy line, how to develop the toy, how it gets marketed out, how basically what they do is the big box stores like Walmart, Target, they buy X amount.
Mm-hmm.
So that has to last them until they get their next shipment. Now, in the event that they sell out and there's nothing more, they can then try to get other what they call distribution problems. That's what they nickname it, and they can kind of get it from the depot if like one store didn't sell as much, and they're just you know peg warmers, and they'll get their somebody else's shipment so that they can get more. And then a lot of time they just end up just collecting dust on the shelves, and that's usually what happens. And that's pretty much, it's not like toilet paper where they're always going to get toilet paper no matter what. But with toys, and the same thing with videos and all of that, it's like whatever they get, they sell, and it's got to last.
Well, and it seems to me that the big box retailers are ignoring a couple of key factors. One, it doesn't seem to me like they're seeing what is selling. They're basing decisions on what doesn't sell.
Yeah.
So for example, my local Target, they got in maybe 12 cases of the blue I guess it's the Y-wing pilot from Rogue One.
Mhm.
Dozens, and I mean probably 100 on the shelves, and they're still sitting there because nobody really wants that figure except for hardcore collectors, right?
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm a hardcore Star Wars fan, but I'm not a hardcore collector. I collect certain characters, and he's not one of them, so I'm not going to get it.
Yeah.
So it's a peg warmer, and so because that and the Lando Calrissian figures are still
You saw
lingering
on my
around.
I don't know if you saw my toy hunt, but I'm like, man, Lando, bro, just always, whether if it's the vintage collection or the Black Series, I'm like, homie just doesn't want to find a home.
Well, look, and I love Lando. I've got all of the Lando figures, but you know, someone overestimated Lando's popularity. And
Yeah, I
so
got the 40th anniversary one. I'm like, I'm good. I don't need another one.
yeah, but you know, so you've got these Lando peg warmers, you got these other peg warmers, and so these big box stores are like, well, until those are gone, we're not bringing in anything else. In the meantime, you know, Mandalorian merchandise, Book of Boba Fett merchandise, which is finally coming to stores. Oh my God. Kenobi stuff, they're not making their way to the shelves. And I'll give you an example. Last night, I went to Ollie's. I love Ollie's. And I went there specifically hoping that they still had the Jar Jar Binks because they had a bunch of them just a couple of weeks ago. And I have a feeling that Jar Jar Binks is going to skyrocket in popularity again in the next couple of episodes of The Mandalorian. No spoiler alerts, but spoiler alert. So I went and they didn't have any left. But you know what they did have? They had 6 cases of Pondo Baba and Dr. Evazan. You know, the Walrus Man and I don't like the look of your face.
Yeah.
You know, and I know for a fact, I never saw those 2 figures hit Walmart or Target. And here they are at Ollie's, 6 cases at $9.95 each. Someone is making some major mistakes at Hasbro or
I would see like AEW want like those chase variants and those 1 of 500 figures out in Ollie's, and I'm like, huh? Like, how did you get those? Like,
they never hit they never hit the big box stores. Never.
Yeah. I
So
had an Ollie's like really really close to my house. I still have an Ollie's. It moved basically. It's like maybe like four exits up, so it's like 10-minute drive. But I had one when I first started collecting and I started the YouTube channel. That's where I was getting all my stuff because they had like a bunch of the WWE elites. They had a bunch of Funko Pops at the time, and so I used to get a lot of my stuff there. And then they just kind of dried out and they weren't selling anything. I've seen the Ray vintage collection figure there for like 5 months straight already.
yeah.
Nobody wants her.
Well, again, they overestimate. That's a whole thing. But by the way, Rafael De Furia sent me a message on Instagram with a screenshot of the credits, and it is Zeb from Rebels.
Okay.
That makes me so happy. Yes. Oh my
Now I
gosh.
gotta watch Rebels. I haven't watched Rebels or the Clone Wars. So I have to. Yeah, because everybody was like, "Oh man, I want to watch the Bad Batch," and I'm like, "They were in Clone Wars."
You don't have to have seen Clone Wars to appreciate the Bad Batch.
Okay.
The Bad Batch is kind of like the Dirty Dozen of the Star
Yeah.
Wars universe. It's it's good. I like Mandalorian a lot better. But so speaking of distribution problems, JD, I've been complaining about this for a year. So this year, well, really starting last year, was the 50th anniversary of the release of the original Migos.
Oh wow.
So these are only available in, well, originally only available in Walmart. And now they're showing up at Meijer. So if you have
Wow.
Meijer stores, you might be able to find them. So the first wave was Batman, Robin, and Superman. I was able to snag Batman and Robin, but Superman has eluded me. I've not found it in 6 months. And I go to every Walmart in town and none of them ever have them. And I've complained about this, that Walmart, listen, 45%, 46% actually of the toy sales in the United States are adult collectors buying toys for themselves. And if you completely ignore that market, you're missing sales. And they've been ignoring the collector market by not having them in stock. They hit the shelves and they're gone. And here's the case in point. So let's see, tonight's Wednesday, either Monday, maybe Sunday, either Sunday or Monday. I said, they're not going to have them, but I'm going to go check. So I went to my local Walmart, and lo and behold, they had Wave 2. Wave 2 is Hal Jordan Green Lantern, which was
Nice.
never one of the original Migos. So there was never a Hal Jordan Green Lantern back 50 years ago in the 70s. So this is the first time he's ever been produced. Gorgeous figure. Shazam, almost exactly like the one that I had. And I wore this figure out. I still remember playing with my Shazam action figure in kindergarten. I took it with me to kindergarten. Shazam and Iron Man. My first ever Mego was Aquaman.
Aquaman.
Got him for my birthday in, I don't know, maybe when I was 6 years old. Very first one I ever got. And I got the Flash. But here's the thing. I got one of each. And I got one of each of the four. But there were only 5 in the case. The display was a case of 5. There were, I think, 2 Green Lanterns. So when I bought 4 of them, one each, I wiped out the store's stock. That, I'm super happy for myself, but I'm really sad for other collectors. they're not going to be able to grab these, or they're going to have to go through a second, a second
Secondary
market,
market.
and I hate that.
And unfortunately, there are some dudes out there, and I would saw like a lot of TikToks when what was it? It was the NECA. I think it was the NECA Back to the Future figures that were coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Where this dude was like just buying. He was literally talking to the guy. He must have paid him or something. But the guy from the back came out with like 2 cases, and he was literally going to buy them all. And like the person who was filming, she had her son who was like trying to get one of them, and she kind of caught him in action. And he was like, and then he was like, because the guys are just going to flip him. He doesn't care.
Yeah. Well, so here's another thing that I've noticed at Walmart. If you go to Walmart, you are going to see pallets of unopened boxes stacked in the aisles. And, I've asked about it, and they're like, we don't have enough people to open these and stock the shelves. And so these pallets of unopened boxes sit there for sometimes months. And then they just get bought up by Ollie's or, another liquidator. So anyway, so Rafael de Furia says about Rebels and Clone Wars, you don't have to watch them, but they add so much more depth to the universe. And this is true. And easily one of the most underrated Star Wars characters, Ahsoka Tano. I don't think she's underrated, Raphael. I think she has become one of fandom's favorite characters. Speaking of which, this is some
because
new
of course
loot.
with Ahsoka Tano, Grand Admiral Thrawn, the Grand Inquisitor. That's why I want to watch. Just because they were like, because I would watch a reaction video of
Mm-hmm.
like Obi-Wan, and people are like, oh my god, it's the Grand Inquisitor,
Yeah.
or when Ahsoka Tano mentions where's Grand Admiral Thrawn, and I don't know who that guy is, but like it seemed like I want to know who this guy is. I've seen him but I just haven't watched
Ooh,
it enough to know who he is.
Javier, JD. Oh, so
Because I with my Star Wars thing, like it's mainly like the movies and some of the holiday series, the
yeah.
Christmas. But other than that, like because I think when the Clone Wars came out and
Mm-hmm.
Rebels, I wasn't really paying attention to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
would watch it on, I'll catch it on Cartoon Network or something or Disney Channel, but I wasn't really like. So when
invested.
a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on the Grand Inquisitor, the Zeb that you mentioned earlier, and Grand Admiral Thrawn and Ahsoka Tano. I know Ahsoka Tano is Anakin's apprentice. That I know for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
But that's why I wanted to make sure so like I could get that. Oh my God, it's the Grand Inquisitor, kind of thing.
Yeah. Those shows will definitely do that for you. And, you know, uh, yeah, Ahsoka is my favorite character, hence the hat. This is Ahsoka Tano's head markings and her, I forget what they call them, tendrils. But love Ahsoka. She is my all-time favorite Star Wars
And
character.
by the way, what great casting! Rosario Dawson looks exactly like her.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of controversy about that because she's played by Ashley Eckstein on the animated series, and Ashley
Okay.
Eckstein is an actress in her own right, and a lot of people thought that it should have been Ashley playing her, but we're not going to get into that.
Tomato,
I'm
tomato.
so Grand Admiral Thrawn. If you really want to dive down the Grand Admiral Thrawn rabbit hole, you've got to read the books by Timothy Zahn, Heir to the Empire, Last Command, Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and Heir to the Empire. They are
Okay.
considered the Thrawn trilogy, which came out in the early 90s during the dark times of Star Wars fandom. And it was the original expanded universe. At the time, Lucas put his seal of approval on them as canon.
Mhm.
And a lot of fans in 2014 when Lucasfilm was sold to Disney, and Disney said, hey, those books, those stories that you love so much, we really aren't going to do anything with those. Those are going to be called legends, and we're going to go in different directions. Fans were outraged because they felt those books, especially the Thrawn trilogy, should have been the next movies. And so if you go back and you read the Thrawn trilogy and then go watch Rebels and get into some of the other newer Thrawn books that are canon. And by the way, for everyone watching, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are working on adapting the Thrawn trilogy in animated form. That's coming. And that's a part of what the Bad Batch is all about. The Bad Batch is setting all of that up. It's pretty amazing to watch.
Anything that Favreau touches seems to turn to gold. So let him keep doing what he's doing. Give him full autonomy and leave him alone.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
I think the only book I ever read, I don't know if it's canon, the Glove of Darth Vader with Trioculus.
It is not, but that was a great book. I mean,
I remember the Scholastic. You know how in school the Scholastic would come out, you can buy a book.
Yeah, the book fair.
I bought 2 books one day. Obviously I didn't grow up with a lot of money, so obviously I had to use my money sparingly when I did have it. So I bought the adaptation book of Karate Kid Part 3 and The Glove of Darth Vader. Those are the only 2 books I bought, and an eraser.
So yeah, Glove of Darth Vader had beautiful Drew Struzman art on the cover. And that was a big book. I mean, it was a junior novel.
For me, it was huge. I was like, dude, I'm not going to be able to read this, but I love the cover. That's what got me.
But I mean, in popularity, it was huge.
Oh, gotcha.
It was huge. And there was Glove of Darth Vader and then Mission to Mount Yoda. Those came out at the same time, and they are not canon, but a lot of fun. So Raphael adds, the tendrils are called Leku. I just learned something new. And I'm also one of the ones that thought Ashley should have played the character. However, Rosario did a great job playing a mature version of the character. Although she did a great job, didn't feel like Ahsoka to me. That's interesting. Thrawn wasn't my favorite character animated. He felt like he could do so much more and the potential wasn't fully realized. So I'm going to agree with you on that, Raphael. I think because what we built up in our head from the Thrawn trilogy books was a little bit different than what we got in the animated version. He was much more low key in the animated version. So we'll have to wait and see what he looks like in live action. But so, hey, JD, we've showed off some action figures. We've talked Star Wars, Mandalorian. We've talked all kinds of cool stuff. I got to talk about my favorite part of the week, because today is Wednesday, and in the United States, Wednesday is New Comics Day. So we got to talk about some new comics. Yum! And I just want to give everyone a heads up to some of the cool stuff out on shelves this week. If you're looking to read something new, I've been waiting for this series for months, Avengers Beyond. It is spinning out of All Out Avengers. This is a standalone series that sits somewhere in continuity, not sure exactly where, but they're standalone stories that kind of drop you into the middle of the story without all of the setup and lead in. So it drops you right into the conflict and takes you through from the conflict through the resolution. Kind of like when we were kids and you picked up a book in the middle of a story arc. That's what it feels like. And this is the brand new series, Avengers Beyond, where the Beyonder is the main villain. And any Avengers team that has the She-Hulk on the team is something I'm super excited about. I love She-Hulk. She is one of my favorite Marvel characters. Also this week from Marvel, It's Jeff, and this is a one-shot about the land shark that was adopted by Gwenpool in the pages of the West Coast Avengers. It is all told only with visuals. There's no dialogue. There's no
That's
word balloon.
that's interesting.
Yeah, but it's really fun, and the artist does a great job telling the story. And Jeff is a land shark, but here's what's really confusing. He was adopted as a pet for Gwenpool, but Gwenpool doesn't appear once in this book. Kate Bishop Hawkeye appears, and she is the one who is kind of taking care of Jeff. So someone needs to fill in some gaps here for me. But a lot of fun, and it feels like watching a Saturday morning cartoon. So it fits in perfectly with our show. Also out this week, you're not going to remember these guys, JD, because you're not old enough. But Rocket Man and Rocket Girl, they were actually an action figure line when I was a kid. And this is a brand new series from Dynamite. And I've not read it yet, but Dynamite does a great job with these public domain IPs. And the artwork on this is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm trying to get to see who the artist is. The artist is Jordi Perez. And it's just gorgeous artwork. Just really, really gorgeous, really pretty artwork. So really excited about Rocket Man and Rocket Girl. And then out on store shelves this week. You ready for a blast from the past? This is the third in this Saturday Morning Adventures comic book series.
Oh yeah,
Dungeons and Dragons.
The movie coming out. That's very a great book to have.
Yeah, but this is the animated series characters. And if you were a fan of Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, which I was, oh my gosh, this was one of the ones that I was getting up early on Saturday morning to watch. And I know it came out in the 80s, but it feels like it was just yesterday. I swear to you,
Yeah.
I am not this old, but this is a 30-year-old franchise. I can't believe it. And
I wasn't. I grew up in the Bronx, like I said, so there was nobody playing Dungeons and Dragons in the hood. So when I moved out to San Diego, then I got introduced to Magic: The Gathering and then Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh. That's when I saw a lot of people playing at the time during school. There were some people that played Dungeons and Dragons, but I was like, I've never was in an opportunity to be a part of it, so I don't know anything about it. I know of it. I know they made a movie a long time ago that sucked. I went to go see it, and I was confused. When it had Marlon Wayans on it, I was like, no, I'll pass.
I never saw that movie.
Please don't.
I will go see the new movie. It comes out this Friday. There's nothing that is making me super excited to see it. I will see it because it is such a big part of my youth. But this Saturday Morning Adventures series is a continuation of the Saturday morning cartoon with those characters. And by the way, Hasbro has released the entire line of the Dungeons and Dragons characters, the entire original character set. And those are available on store shelves right now. You can get those at Walmart and Target. And I'm not going to review it, but I picked up Little Guardians, brand new trade paperback collection from Scout Comics. I got this over the weekend. It came out last Wednesday. I'm going to do a full review of it on Back Issue Breakfast Club this week. But fun little family-friendly adventure. It ends with a cliffhanger, but it's a good one. Check it out. So that's it for new comics this week. JD, you got anything else that you want to show off this week before we call it a night?
Yeah, I went to this place called Vortex Video Games, a mom and pop shop that it's actually near the Ollie's that I go to now. So I picked up. They're mostly a video game store, but they do sell toys and comics. So I picked up this retro X-Men book, X-Men number 23,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like this was one of the battles that they were um, fighting Mister Sinister.
Yeah, so that
I
is
got
mid 90s,
yeah,
great era of the X-Men.
yeah. So I got that. And then
Now
I
was that
picked
was
up
that
the what?
were these in a pack, like in a like a special 5-pack or 10-pack? Uh-oh. JD froze on me. So while we're waiting for him to restore his internet, for those of you who are just listening to this podcast and you want to be able to see
There we go.
what we're showing off, you can check it out on YouTube and Facebook. All right, so there you are back with X-Men.
Yeah. So then the next one I picked up, they were actually just in front of the store, and like they were like, "Hey, $1, if you want to
Oh,
get it."
okay, great.
And then I picked up this other, the Incredible Hulk number 385.
Oh yeah, so this is Dale Cohen or Cohen. Dale Cohen
Yeah,
is the artist on this. Peter David was the writer. Another really seminal era. This is where we saw Smart Hulk
yeah.
emerge in this run.
And looky what they have in the back. And I actually am trying to collect these Marvel Series 1 trading cards. That's what actually got me because it was face down, and I saw the cards. I'm like, oh, and I was like, I need to get these. And then I picked it up, and I'm like, oh, it's the Incredible Hulk. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this. No, no, that was a no brainer. And then I got the RoboCop: The Future of Law Enforcement number 20.
Oh, okay. And
And then on the back, it
yes,
has the Toy Biz X-Men figures.
and that is the first wave of those X-Men figures. And
Yeah,
um, when those came out, JD, those led the Toy Biz revolution because those came out before the Marvel superheroes Toy Biz figures. I
yeah,
never dreamed as a kid that we would get X-Men action figures. And that line set the stage for what we have today. And Toy Biz
yeah,
created just about every figure you can imagine from the Marvel and X-Men universes.
yeah. I actually there was this I think a span of like from like October to December. I was buying I was introduced to Whatnot, and I had gotten smitten by
Oh
the
no.
Whatnot bug. And there
Oh
was this
no.
guy's shout out to Mecha Market. If you guys want to get some really really good retro figures, that dude has a lot loose and carded. So if you go to Mecha Market at Whatnot, he's got some good stuff. And man, he was just like he would do like dollar starts. It's like yeah, dollar start. You pick whatever you want off the wall. And I'm like, for real? I was like, all right, shoot. I got a lot of loose figures from him. I've already done reviews on them already. I just recently did Storm and Rogue, the Toy Biz figures. The Storm was the X-Men Classic, and it would come with a trading card inside.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the Rogue, uh, which also came with a trading card inside of it as well from Toy Biz. I got a lot of Toy Biz stuff, and then of course it got me into getting the actual Marvel Legends because the Spider Man had the line where they were doing the Spider Man from like the cartoon, and so they did the Marvel Legends line. I actually just purchased. Um the Spider-Man Iron Spider, or I don't know, I forget what he was in silver, but it looks
Yeah,
just like
yeah, yeah,
Spider-Man
yeah.
in silver and
The
black.
spider armor. Yeah.
Yeah, Spider Armor. So I got that coming in, and I got the Brock Ultimate coming in too in like a couple of weeks or so.
I'm a little bit jealous that you're getting all this stuff. But for those of you who want to quench your FOMO and live vicariously through JD, check out his YouTube channel, J&J Toy Giants. Um, great channel. And yeah, that's awesome. Now, JD, we need to actually call it a night. But man, there's a we didn't even touch.
We didn't even get to talk about WrestleMania, which is
Oh,
coming out this
oh.
weekend.
So what are your predictions? Do you think Cody's gonna finally dethrone Roman Reigns?
Yeah, I think this is a swan song, so to speak. This is for those of you who have never watched WWE. This is my wheelhouse. I love WWE and pro wrestling in general. Because he's now gotten the bug from his cousin about starting to act, and he's gonna take a break before he's coming back. He's had the title for almost 1,000 days at this point.
Is it the longest run in WWE
Pretty
history?
much, yeah. If he did retain, I think it's day number 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Cody Rhodes is going to defeat Roman Reigns. I think there might be a loophole that Paul Heyman exercises that Cody doesn't get both belts. He doesn't get the unified title. He gets one. We'll see. I do think
Yeah.
that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are going to take the titles from the Usos as well. And
Yeah, it's going to basically be the fall of the bloodline.
Yeah.
It's gonna shatter the next night on Raw. Everybody's going to be fighting each other. Um, with Cody, it's just I think this is kind of like his time to shine. Everybody thought, and even back in the '90s, everybody thought Dustin was going to be the next Dusty Rhodes. And although he had his own success as Goldust, um, but he had a lot of failures as the Dustin Rhodes, and then he was I forget the gimmick. They had him 7
yeah,
in
in
WCW.
WCW. Yeah.
I'm like, and then
But
of course he did the Goldust in WWE. But you know, he's fine with his career. But at this time, like his Cody kind of like fulfills that dream of being the second Rhodes to have a world championship title.
well, no. Dusty never won the world title.
He was he was the NWA and WCW champion.
Uh
Yeah, he was an he won the NWA championship for Ric Flair, but then when they changed the
he only had it one night. He lost it the very next night.
yeah, well the big yeah, I remember he didn't have that great of a reign, but he did win the world title, so he was considered a world champion. But this is his time to
Yeah, he
show
never
the
had
critics.
the WWE title.
No, he never had the WWE title. He didn't have any championships. Dusty in the
right. And make no mistake that my son will carry on the legacy of Dusty Rhodes and stomp a mud hole in the bloodline and Roman Reigns, baby.
Yeah, I feel bad for him because he kind of got a raw deal because all that stuff where Roman Reigns was talking about like like he coveted me more than you. That's true.
Oh yeah.
Cody had a lot of like you know there was a point when he was in Legacy with Randy Orton and Teddy DiBiase. That then failed. Then he was dashing Cody Rhodes, and he had that stupid mustache. And then he had the
Stardust,
his nose broken, and he had the face mask thing.
Yeah.
So he didn't really amount to a lot. And then of course, dare I say, Stardust. That was a gimmick he was saddled with. He didn't really want, but he made it.
But they won the tag titles together.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was Intercontinental Champion and Tag Team Champion.
And U.S. champion. He's
and U.S. champion.
If he wins this, he'll be one of the few Grand Slam champions.
Miz is the only person to ever do it twice.
Yeah.
Which is, I was telling my friend who's not into wrestling, and I'm like, yeah, so the Miz is proof that you could take a bad thing about, because he was coming from reality TV and can actually do pro wrestling. But I think this is most of the more anticipated WrestleManias that we had in a couple of years. I think the last one I got really excited for was when Kofi won the title in New York.
Does Rhea Ripley take the title from Charlotte Flair?
Yeah, she's getting a lot of steam to be that next person to take it from Charlotte. Unfortunately, Bianca Belair and the Asuka thing is going to be like I mean, it's going to be a good match, but nobody's really going to be watching that. I think it's
Bianca retains.
The Cody match, the Rhea Ripley match, the Sami Zayn tag team match. Those are the ones that are people really wanting to watch. The Austin Theory and John Cena thing, that's going to be the first match. Nobody's going to care about that. And so
nobody cares about Lesnar or Omos. But
yeah, and that was a lot of people were like saying, well, what happened to Lashley? It was supposed to be Lesnar and Lashley. That never amounted to anything. I think that was Vince's last.
Well, no,
decision.
They did Lashley versus Lesnar at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, but they were gonna continue it over to like end at Mania, and that never happened.
Well, Bray Wyatt was supposed to face Lashley, but he's had some kind of health problems. I think what's going to happen is LA Knight is going to face Lashley, and this is going to be the dark horse match of WrestleMania. LA Knight defeats Bobby Lashley with the assistance of Alexa Bliss, who makes
That's what a lot of people are saying too.
Yeah.
But I feel bad for Bray Wyatt, man, because he had just so much steam coming back, and then that's it. They weren't using him. That whole Uncle Howdy thing was kind of like a step backwards in my estimation, because he didn't need a gimmick like that.
It was taking a little bit too long. He was telling a story, and then he got sick. And so anyway, who knows what's going to happen with that. But WrestleMania is this weekend, and those are our predictions. So
I'm not really looking forward to the Hall of Fame either. That was there's only going to be like 4 or 5 people being inducted.
Well, but Great Muta is being inducted.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's well overdue.
And Andy Kaufman. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
I wonder who's gonna induct them. I don't know if Jerry Lawler is well enough to do it yet. They haven't.
Well, wouldn't it be cool if Jim Carrey showed up to induct?
That would blow the roof off
Andy
the place.
Kaufman.
Like, whoa, like.
And look, this WrestleMania, have you seen the stage that they're building for this thing?
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter. It's going to be like, I think it's 80 yards, like from the stage to the ring.
They've got something really big planned. So
yeah, it's as big as the one that when Taker's last match. It's as big as that's the same length they had when his last match.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we got to go. JD, thank you so much for being with me tonight. And
no, thank you.
If you guys watching or listening, if you like what we're doing, kind of a looser midweek show, let us know, and we'll continue doing Weeknight Bites.
Be safe, everybody.
Until the next time, love you, mean it. We'll catch you on the back of the cereal box. And with that, we're going to end with a little plug for one of our charity sponsors, Comic Books for Kids.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.